To another Labour politician now, Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, facing criticism over a drugs initiative which would allow low-level cannabis users to avoid prosecution. He was forced to deny he was decriminalising drugs under the plan after the Downing Street said the government had no intention of decriminalising dangerous and harmful substances, and Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, said he was not in favour of a change in the law. The scheme has been proposed by Volteface, a non-profit group that works on reducing drug harm, and would require young people stopped with cannabis to submit to conditions such as attending support services. Well, let's now speak to Katya Kowalski, who's head of operations at Volteface, who can try and explain it all to us. Afternoon, Katya.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me on. A real pleasure to be speaking to you today.
Well, no, it is good. So, from the horse's mouth, let's try and get to the bottom of all this, because people get very excited when they're talking about drugs. And what are we actually talking about here? What is the plan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's been, it's been quite a media storm over the last 24 hours, and there's a lot of conflation between what diversion schemes are and what decriminalisation is. And lots of media headlines have been stating that Sadiq Khan's about to decriminalise cannabis in London, when that's very much far from it. The report that we've written, which was unfortunately some information was leaked yesterday. The report's coming out in coming weeks, but essentially it's looking at putting in place pilot diversion schemes in a couple of boroughs in London, looking at putting young people under the age of 25 through support services, counselling, drug treatment services where necessary, to prevent them going through the criminal justice system, and to prevent reoffending, and essentially possessing small amounts of drugs.
And I suppose the main point is that if someone is found in possession of drugs, one of the reasons why we have laws against that is to stop them doing it again. And if that's not working, logic would tell you that maybe we should try something else. But I suppose this is such an emotive subject that people seem to have very strong views on, even if the facts don't always match what people would consider to be common sense or the done thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, one of the issues is this is such an emotionally charged and kind of moral issue of a topic. People have very strong opinions and views on drug policy, whether it's one way or the other. And I think the current system isn't working, and putting young people through the criminal justice system for low-level possession offences, it doesn't really address the root problem or the root cause to why someone might be in possession of drugs. And leaving this criminal justice footprint for someone that's young has massive impacts and implications on their life. So what this scheme is essentially trying to do is it's trying to tackle why they were in possession of drugs, in the first case, and try and tackle that and prevent reoffending. Rather than directly criminalising them, which has a massive impact on them and their lives. But obviously this has been... I
was going to say, what's the sort of timescale on this, of any sort of change? And is it a change that Sadiq Khan as Mayor of London can actually make, or does it need government support?
So this is a pilot scheme, and I think there's going to be further information in due course with, the timescales as to when it's going to be set up, when it's going to be run. But I think the key to this isn't sweeping, wide-scale policy change. It's not, it requires no change to the Misuse of Drugs Act. And, we're seeing measures in pilot schemes like this already taking place across the entire country, in very different counties up and down the country. So it's not like this is, wide-scale decriminalisation, not in the slightest. And I think this kind of conflation in the media recently has shown that there's, real lack of understanding as to what decriminalisation and what diversion schemes actually mean. And it's actually done a lot more harm than good by, this kind of sensationalist approach to people saying that, drugs are going to be decriminalised in London, when that's not the case. And I think it makes people kind of disengage from the subject even more, when I think in reality these are, quite fair and, not socially controversial measures whatsoever.
Oh, it's really good to speak to you. And actually, I was quite struck that the Conservatives and Boris Johnson didn't go in sort of studs up accusing Labour of being soft on drugs. So there did seem to be an acknowledgement that ideas should be explored. But really good to speak to you, Katya Kowalski there from Volteface, which is the non-profit group working with Sadiq Khan on this plan to treat those caught with small amounts of cannabis slightly differently.